Let's talk about something real, unsatisfying sex. It's a problem many couples face but don't always know how to address. The secret? Freedom of sexual expression. This could be the key to unlocking deeper intimacy, emotional connection, and long-term satisfaction. Let me share my experience. As a hypersexual, kinky, bisexual man who struggled with sex addiction, navigating this wasn't easy. But working through those struggles with my wife, openly and without judgment, has kept us from falling into the disconnection that so many couples face. You've probably heard the jokes, how sex fades over time in relationships, or how unsatisfied women are a running punchline. But I don't see any of that as funny. I see it as a warning sign. A sign that couples are avoiding the guilt and frustration that come with not knowing how to fix it. Freedom of sexual expression. What it is and why you need it. Freedom of sexual expression is about creating a space where you and your partner can share your raw, unfiltered thoughts about sex without fear of judgment. It's a place where insecurities can be left behind. But this doesn't mean acting on every fantasy or desire. It's about understanding each other's needs and boundaries. It also means accepting that love doesn't erase sexual attraction to others or eliminate all sexual desires. That's okay. What's not okay is ignoring those feelings, coddling each other's egos, and staying stuck in a cycle of unsatisfying intimacy. To break free from that cycle, we need to first understand the psychology of sexual desire. Understanding men's desires. Men and women both experience sexual desire, but the way we process it is often very different. Men tend to sexualize people more often because we're conditioned to from a young age. We're taught to handle those urges privately, often through masturbation, porn, and fantasy. Over time, these coping mechanisms create unrealistic expectations of sex and how women experience it. For example, many men think that having a bigger dick or lasting longer is the key to being a great lover. But let me tell you, that's a myth. I've had threesomes with guys who were better endowed than me. And guess what? Not all of them knew how to use it. What matters isn't size or stamina. It's knowing how to use what you have to meet your partner's needs. Here is a practical tip. The number one position that helps many women orgasm is her on top. Why? Because it gives her control over the friction on her clitoris. She can adjust the pressure and speed, and your role is to provide support and follow her lead. Now let's talk about women's sexual experience. For women, sexual desire is deeply connected to their emotional state. If she feels emotionally restricted or held back, her physical response will reflect that. And here's the tricky part. If she has to filter her desires to protect your ego, you'll only ever see a watered-down version of her sexual self. That's probably the pattern you're stuck in right now. But to break it, you need to be willing to listen without judgment or defensiveness. Women don't experience desire the same way men do. They aren't turned on by visual stimulation like men are. For them, sexual attraction comes from emotional and mental connection. If you want to connect with her sexually, start by connecting with her emotionally. Let's talk about men's shame around sexuality. So, ladies, when you open this door, you may see sides of your partner you didn't know existed. And sometimes you may even be the one with the strongest sexual drive. That's okay. But for most men, sexual emotions are tangled with shame. Despite looking like grown men, many of us carry the shame of our teenage selves. Confused, ashamed, and alone in dealing with intense sexual urges. We've built private worlds through porn and fantasy, and those hidden urges don't just disappear. They stay buried. But when you create a safe space for him to share those feelings, you become more than a partner. You become his confidant. And that doesn't mean you have to fulfill every fantasy. Just talking about them can be enough to strengthen your bond and find common ground. How sexual freedom can strengthen your relationship. My wife and I have built our relationship on this principle: freedom of sexual expression. And let me tell you, it's profoundly strengthened every part of our connection. When you let go of the shame, the guilt, and the outdated ideas about what sex should be, you create a space for real intimacy and trust. So, ask yourself, are you sexually compatible with your partner? Are you satisfied, or do you crave more and feel guilty about it? If you're struggling to start this conversation, use this video as a tool. Share it with your partner. Be honest, be vulnerable, and work together to build a new reality. Don't settle for outdated norms of unsatisfying sex. You deserve a relationship built on mutual understanding, freedom, and trust. Leave the guilt and shame behind and create the connection you've been craving.